This one right across the river here in Brooklyn in the NBA, where the ongoing question has been which team will trade for Kevin Durant. We're just over a week now since Durant made his trade request, and yesterday his former teammate Draymond Green backed Durant's decision on his podcast. Take a listen to what Draymond had to say.
If Kevin Durant says, I actually don't want to be here anymore, I want to go to somewhere else, why does it matter? Why does that make you weak? Why does that make him, it means he's running from something? If someone leaves Google to go to Apple after 3 or 4 years, and then they leave Apple after 2 years to go to Tesla, and then they leave Tesla after 4 years to go to DocuSign, no one's going to say that person ran. Everyone's going to say that person did what was best for their career.
Thoughts, Zach?
I don't think anyone's actually mad at Kevin Durant. Look, trade requests are unpleasant. They create drama for teams. But what they really do is just even the balance of power between teams and players. Teams can trade players whenever they want. Players are exercising their power. And the thing is, if you have a trade request, what ends up honoring your contract is, do you play hard through it? And Kevin Durant has done nothing but play hard and be available when healthy for the Brooklyn Nets. You cannot say the same thing for James Harden and Kyrie Irving, so I don't think anyone's mad at KD.
Yeah, Draymond should Google straw man argument and see what comes up with there. But anyway, hey, Windy, let's talk about what's really going on. What do the Nets perceive as the market for Kevin Durant right now?
Yeah, so we're a week into the Kevin Durant trade request that came down, about 8 days ago. And I think one of the things that the Nets have, discovered is what teams have been discovering for 30 years in star trade situations. The value of the player to your team is not the same as the value of the player you can get in trade. I don't care if you want to go back to the early 90s when Charles Barkley asked out of Philadelphia. You can study a whole bunch of trades since. It's very rare for a team that has to trade the star player to get back what is perceived as equal value. And so the Nets have an extremely high standard, and they should. We are in the second week of July. There is no reason that they should feel any sort of deadline or any pressure. But the reality is they are probably not going to be able to get, quote-unquote equal value, and the first rounds of trade talks over these last 8 days have definitely revealed that.
What's the rush if you're the Nets? You take all the time you have. They don't want to move Kevin Durant because they know the second they do, their entire franchise is altered for a while. If you're Brooklyn, you stay the course. What's interesting to me, guys, is what happens when Kevin says, as the season gets ready, I want out of here, you need to make this deal. As we tie all this together, though, especially with Draymond's comments, this is why so many people watch the Durant situation in the Bay and they go, we love Steph Curry. He is the guy who has made the whole thing go. He is our anchor. When you hear Steve Kerr and that entire organization sing the praises, it's for the reasons that they know they can count on him all the time. And they know he only ever wanted to be in one place. And that's not a fault of Kevin or any other star in the NBA now. It just shows you how different Steph Curry is than everybody else, because they know that if he's not there to set the tone, they don't have the rings that they have.
And speaking of Golden State, we want to play another edition of Make Me a Trade. And whether it's realistic or not, the Warriors have been floated as a potential Durant destination. So, Zach Lowe, what would that deal hypothetically look like?
Golden State's got everything you need. Here's one I just made up, and let's be clear. The Warriors are not offering this right now because this is a long process. They just won the championship. They have visions of being Spurs 2.0 and having a 20-year window. This would shrink their window, but this is what they got. Wiggins would have to be rerouted somewhere, or Ben Simmons would have to be rerouted somewhere for boring cap reasons. That's not a bad deal. Jordan Poole and Jonathan Kuminga are really good young assets for Brooklyn. And look, Nick's talking about Steph Curry. Are the Warriors poking around thinking about this? Absolutely. There's only one voice that matters inside Golden State's organization about should we dive back into the KD pool. Steph Curry. Just like it was in the Hamptons when Steph Curry said, yeah, I'll share the spotlight with you. I don't care. That's the same question here. If he says, yeah, I'm okay with it, they'll explore it. The other flip side is, does Kevin Durant really want to do this? After being, I think, unfairly ridiculed to some degree for joining a super team, having, I think, in his view, the 2 titles that he won there slightly discredited because of how good they are. Does he really want to go back there? Now, this would be a trade. He could say, this was out of my hands. This wasn't my decision, like my 2016 free agency. As Nick alluded to earlier, the dynamics here are really interesting, but there's no denying Golden State's got everything you need to get in the game.
Zach, the thing that is so important to remember, Kevin hated that it was Kevin and the Warriors. So does that trade get that bridge to a point where everybody's on the same page again? It is all about Steph, but it's also about Joe Lacob. He has a huge voice inside what goes on. He'll sit down with Steph and Clay and Draymond, and he'll say, what do you all think? Kevin is still unbelievably awesome, guys, and all the Warriors always had the respect because they know he put in the work. But if you make that deal, you are completely gutting what helped you win the title this year, which was the depth that they banked on night after night.
And let me be clear, I don't expect him to go to the Warriors. It would surprise me if he ends up going to the Warriors. They just do have the goods to do it.
Yeah, we're just doing this for fun. Wendy, what are your thoughts on the potential?
What are the Warriors known for?
Yeah.
The Warriors are known for being light years ahead. I know we have fun with that sometimes, but that statement has kind of been true. And light years ahead is not trading for a guy in his mid-30s when you've got a bunch of guys in their 20s who can develop into star players. We're already seeing Andrew Wiggins develop into more of a star. Now, I don't think any of those, I'm not saying Moses Moody or Jonathan Kuminga are going to become Kevin Durant, but the Warriors have their situation set beautifully right now. Obviously, you owe it to your franchise to have a discussion about something like this, but I wouldn't mess with a championship core, and I wouldn't mess with what looks like a really promising next 5 to 7 years.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.